you're standing up in the ceiling and you hate yourself only because you ended up in this relationship with this person that you don't really love. And you're trying to make it work with somebody who doesn't really love you, but yet it looks good on the
Yeah.
ground. And so people do it all the time.
Bro, I've had conversations
Yeah.
with women and men who are like, yeah, I'm gonna marry this girl and I don't want to give up on her and stuff like that. And I'm like, and like, so from both perspectives, like I totally understand. I understand, loving somebody so deeply that you don't want to give up on them no matter what. But I also understand that, like, at a certain point, like when you look at it, like, what do they, like, why do you love them? If you can't define why you love somebody, and once again, I've been in that situation where people are like, why do you love me? And I'm like, why? Shit, dude, I don't fucking know. I just love you, like, I think it takes more maturity to actually define that love that you have for them, because it's, you can't be like, oh, you're really pretty and you're smart and you're funny and like, whatever, you need to be able to define like actual things, like, hey, you see me, like you've seen me at my worst and you
Yeah.
didn't flinch and you stuck around, or you stayed in my life, and you saw me grow. And like, not only did you see me grow, you told me I was growing. And even when I faltered and you pointed out mistakes that I made and stuff like that, like you still stuck around. Like, what I look like at my worst. Now that could be your worst in like how you treat people, what you do in your job, your weight, whatever people want to define their worst as, right? Those are people that are worth actually sticking around for, because we do run into situations in our lives that are uncontrollable, that, sometimes people can't drag themselves out of, and you need to be supportive of that person, whether they're your partner or you're not. That goes back to what I said earlier this week about, are we our brother's keeper? 100%. You are your brother's keeper. 100%. You're your friend's keeper, your lover's keeper, your partner's keeper, your wife's keeper, your husband's keeper. Everyone's keeper. And the further we get away from thinking that we as human beings don't have any type of responsibility to take other human beings, we're just going to decline as a society as a whole. 100%. And there's nothing you can say that will, that will bring me off of that way of thinking. But the thing the point I want to make is, there's a difference between not giving up on somebody who's worth not giving up on, and not giving up on somebody because, you are
Or you don't want to be a
person.
I mean, how many people do you know?
Or you
My
just
bad. I
don't.
didn't mean to cut you off, but when you said that, you mentioned earlier about the loneliness stage.
Okay.
I mean, there are people who date people just because they're lonely, or we say, or we have this wishful thinking, this idea that we can change somebody, that we have this. I mean, to think that, oh well, I'm good, I'm so awesome that I'm going to change this person. They're gonna one day look up and see that I'm awesome and that what they've been doing is wrong, and they're gonna wake up and just become this person that I've been waiting for, that I see in them. The reality is nobody's going to change until they want to. No one can change anything until they choose to.
No.
And oh, by the way, in the process of you thinking and trying to change this person, what happens next is that you are draining your own life for it. You are draining yourself. And the reality is, you keep playing around trying to change this person, you might not live to see it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality. And that doesn't mean just physically, but that's emotionally, that's spiritually. You might end up destroying yourself on the inside, trying to give your life to build this person up, only for them to walk away from you. And then you're still just as lonely as you were in the first place. You know what I mean? Like you said, yeah, and be lonely right next to them. I mean, there's so many people who are alone in relationships. That's real. Because if you and like I said, it goes back to defining love. Like, the reality is, here's one of the greatest acts of love is learning to let go. You know what I mean? Sometimes, I mean, that's reality. Sometimes in order to be able to really, you say you really love them, if you really love them, then you need to love them enough to let go and let them go be what they want to be. And don't allow yourself to be the whipping post. You know what I'm saying? For them, or be the trial run, or be the test dummy for their crashes. You know what I mean? The reality is that you have to be the one that says, you know what? I don't just love you. I love myself enough to say, you know what? We had some really great times, but the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And maybe sometime down the road, You might change or whatever the case is, and that's great. If God decides that we're gonna recross paths, you know what I mean, in a couple of years, then it is what it is. But the reality is that right now in this place, this is not serving you or me, because it's not fair to me. But what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to go to be trying to bring you along, and it's not fair to you for me to be in your life knowing that you don't really want me here. Like, that's the reality. You know, and those are the tough conversations that we have to have with ourselves. And we have to look in the mirror and say, you know what do I believe that I'm worth? Do I believe that this is what I heard a quote years ago that was like, we accept the love that we think we deserve. Yeah. And then, like, it just hit me. It was like, we accept the love we think we deserve. And I think a lot of times, man, my fellas, man, you know, we get the short end of the stick, bro. I mean, because we're not allowed to think these things. We're not allowed to value ourselves and say, no, I think I'm gonna set some boundaries and standards and walk away from a young, like it's almost offensive if we walk away from a young lady and it's like, listen, you know, I have to do what's best for me, just like you have to do what's best for you. You know what I mean? Because at the
Well, that goes back to what we were talking about the valuation of men and women from birth. You know, women are born inherently valuable, and men have to go out and make themselves valuable. You know, so we value ourselves off of our accomplishments, whereas women tend to value themselves more off of, you know, looks or what they can provide, or, you know, how, I don't want to say attractive, but how wanted they are, right? Men, on the other hand, like we are in a constant state of battle. This is another thing that Andrew Tate said that it kind of hit home, was that we constantly live in competition with other men. Our whole lives are competition with other men, whether it's at our jobs, or whether it's fitness, whether it's, you know, competing for women or whatnot. Like, we are in a constant state of competition. And I think with maturity, with age, with experience, you start to just realize, like, I don't give a shit, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at a certain point in your life, and I would say this for people that work certain jobs and do certain things in their lives. Like, at a certain point, like, you just get tired of, like, I'm not proving myself anymore. Like, I don't give a shit. If you don't see value in me, like, go find fucking value in Randy. I don't care, you know. Relationships grow when you know each other's worth as well as your own. True, you have to know your own worth. You have to value yourself, because the person that loves you can sit there in front of you and tell you how much you are valued by them, because it can be 100% true. They consider you valuable. You're more valuable than money. You're more valuable than time. You're more valuable than effort, because that's everything that they're giving you, because they're using that as currency, because you cannot be bought with any of that. Those are the currencies that they're using to show you that you are valuable to them. They're using their time and their effort and their money, and they're using their emotions, and they're willing to be there on the really, really bad days. And so everything you said was 100% true about, you know, self-evaluation and everything like that. Let me throw you a curveball though. Do you feel, I'm going to use this term. I'm not going to use it lightly. I'm just going to throw it out there like a hammer strike. Do you believe that there is one person in the world? Do you believe in soulmates? Do you believe you can be so in love with somebody that, you know, and I know you believe in souls, all right, because you're a godly man. Do you believe that you can meet somebody and like, your souls are just like, no matter what you do, you can't get away from them, no matter what you do, all right?
So, you see, I had to flip my hat backwards. I had to flip the hat for that one, you know what I'm saying? Man, you know what? So this has been a question that's always come up many times, you know, in my life and in general, particularly because of the fact that, you know, so obviously in the church world, in the faith world, you know, you have this big, you know, talk about purpose and like destiny and why are we here? And we always talk about there's a partner, there's a helpmeet that is there, that is designed for you and what you're doing and where you're going and all those things. And so you find yourself in a situation where, it's very easy to believe, like, man, you know what? Maybe there is only one specific person, but then at the same time, on just a scientific level or whatever the case it is, you know, women outnumber men tremendously. And so then you look at it and it's like, okay, well, I got all these women and a few men. So it's like, something's off here. Hey, no, thank you. Sorry. My little friend here, she needs a lot of attention right now. Go, Grace. Go. Anyway. Sorry about that. But anyway,
Zoe Amanda. What do you mean it's a
that,
crime?
that, that there's
You don't believe in
only
soulmates.
one, yeah. That there's
You
only
don't
one
believe in love. Like
person
what?
and purpose
Yeah.
and one person for your destiny. I don't believe, so me personally, I don't believe that there's just one person. I don't believe that, right? I think ultimately, I think that, because like for me, like I said, I believe God gives us options and he gives us choices. He's like, listen, I lay before you life and death. I give you options. You know what I mean? And you choose, okay? If this is the direction, this is the person, okay? Yeah. If this person is okay, cool. Because reality is the only requirement, you know what I'm saying? The only requirement is that they, love God. You know what I mean? Like that's it. So everything else is extra, right? So if you look at it just from a person who may not be a person of faith, I don't believe that there's only one person. I believe that you meet somebody that you connect with. And soulmates, remember, you can have a soulmate in almost any aspect. Like everybody, a soulmate, we always make it just romanticized as just relationships and dating, but soulmates are simply, your soul is your mind, will, and emotions. So anybody that you connect with on your mind, your mental, your will, and your emotions, you connect on those levels, that is technically a soulmate. You know what I mean? People, you have friends that can be soulmates. We are of, like, what they say, kindred spirits. Like, you can have people that we are of the same mind. We are like of the same will, that we connect on an emotional level. You see what I'm saying? And so therefore, that in itself is considered, could be a soulmate. When you talk about all the, like the movies, the movies and the fairy tales and the stories, oh, there's that one person that they walk in the hallway and the sun rays come down in their face and the music's playing and and the wind's blowing, but there ain't no wind in the building, like all of that kind of stuff, man. That's Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? I think in many, like I know right now, like I got some cousins, man, when they first met each other, they couldn't stand each other. Like they could not stand each other at all. They were like oil and water. And sure enough, they've been married. Fast forward, they got married and have been married for, I don't know, 20 years now. You know what I'm saying? And so the reality is
Yeah.
that I think that we choose who we align and connect ourselves with. The reality is you need to have qualifications or boundaries or standards that if that person connects and reaches all those standards, then anybody can be that. You know what I mean? Anybody can be those things that align in all aspects of your life. You know what I mean? I think that's a good point. I think that, um, and it's really tough, man, because not being able to see the big picture, as they say, you know what I mean? Not being able to see the future. But I will say this, now, it's a caveat. Now, there are people out there that I do think may be more ideal for you specifically. You see what I'm saying? I do think that
Okay.
there are
Yeah.
certain people that you just connect with on a different type of level. Like it's just natural. Like it's just organic. Like there's no resistance. It just flows. I do think that those people do exist out there. You know what I mean? But you also got to be careful too, because there's certain people that may really flow and have the chemistry, but then they take you off track. They can distract you from your destiny, your career, and where you're going. But there's such a chemistry there that you're like, oh my gosh, I need this. And don't realize that it's been strategically placed to distract you from your purpose. You see what I'm saying? And so, I mean, like, it's a slippery slope, man. But at the end of the day, I think that it's, so no, answer your question, no. I don't think that there's only one person in the whole world. Because then if it was the case and you picked the wrong person, well, now the whole system is broken. You know what I mean? Now, the whole thing falls apart.
So if you believe that you picked the wrong person, then you don't believe in soulmates. You know what I'm saying? Like so the idea that there is one person meant for you and you pick the wrong one, then the idea that there is the right one, it doesn't exist, because the thought process that there is the right one would mean that we have a fate that we're going to run into each other. I think both of us kind of agree on fate. We don't really believe in a set, destination. We don't believe in a set storyline that's already pre-written and stuff like that. So how I feel about that is I feel another video I watched a while ago talked about relationships, and it talks about you have to work at relationships, and when you put enough effort and enough feelings, emotions, and effort into that relationship, then that becomes like that person does become your soulmate. Like that person becomes your one person, because even if you guys are to break up or you cheated on yourself, what do you talk about, Majestic? We're going to come back to that in a second. You put enough effort into that person, then that person, even if you break up, because maybe that person is not in a particular state to give you back what you're giving them, or they don't see their own value, or they don't understand the type of relationship that you can provide for them, they may come back later, and they probably will come back later. And you see it a lot. You see a lot of people, they'll meet in high school, right? They'll meet in high school, they date, doesn't really work out, they go off, they become adults, they have some relationships, they come back, and they meet in their 20s, they meet in their 30s. Hell, people meet in their 50s and 60s nowadays, because so much time has fucking passed, and you end up with the person that you may have supposed to be with your entire time. I don't believe in fate. I believe that the universe provides you with questions, or it provides you with choices, right? So forks in the road. We can call it forks in the road. So every day we run into a fork in the road. Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And I think the same thing applies to people. Don't get mad at me because you're reading too slow. I mean, there's a lot of people commenting and jumping in and stuff like that. You just like, or you cheat on yourself. You cheated on yourself. Whatever. I'll talk to you about it later. But you get these choices, right? And as you make these choices, your fate changes, right? Your story changes, your timeline changes, your narrative changes, right? So as we make these choices, I think at a certain point, when it comes to other people in our lives, some people are not going to go anywhere, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. That person is going to be in your life, and you get to make the choice of how they're in your life, right? So you may meet, let's say you're a guy, you meet a girl, right? You have a rocky beginning, yet somehow, some way, you continually run into everybody else. All right, you continually run into. I'm sorry, not everybody else. You continually run into each other. You get together, you break up. You get together, break up. But at a certain point, like you like all throughout all this interaction, you've created this almost binding, because your stories are so intertwined that it almost doesn't make sense for you to be with anybody else, right? Because now there's history, now there's feelings, now there's respect, there's knowledge of your past. So you've seen each other at your really good, you've seen each other at your really bad, and yet for some reason you continually deny the fact that you mesh together. All right. And it's one or the other. One or the other person is like, oh no, we can't do this because of this. We can't do this because of this. And you keep going. But every time you get into a new relationship,
it ain't
you're like, that person doesn't talk to me like you. That person doesn't smell like you. That person doesn't taste like you. That person doesn't, feel like you. That person doesn't look like you. That person doesn't love me like you do. At a certain point, like it's like one person's always showing up with a resume, and they're like, hey, you're overqualified for the job. And the other person's like, yep, you're overqualified for the fucking job. I think at a certain point, like you just have to put in effort, because like me, and this might be a byproduct of being deployed so many times. I guess I have like a romantic view of life and love. Like I want there to be that one person. Like I associate people with home. Like this is my house, this is where I live, this is my home. But like my home would be with a person that can make any building a home and stuff like that. So I have this more romantic view of whatever. I also have like this really, really high tolerance of stress, So like I look at situations and people are like, man, that's impossible. I'm like,
it's impossible.
no, that ain't shit. Like it's gonna be, and and people will misinterpret that as like, oh, you're a glass half full type person. I'm like, no, I've been through some shit, and I'm telling you that your situation ain't that fucking bad, and it's gonna be okay. And I'm literally here to tell you, I promise you it's gonna be okay. So when I apply that to my logic of, we'll say soulmates, we can say true love, you can say whatever, however you want to romanticize it. I truly believe that you will run into, sometimes, it's not all the time, like sometimes you meet them when you're young, you marry, and you stay together for 45 years, and then you guys die together. But I think you do run into people sometimes in your life, depending on your lifestyles and stuff like that, they do complete a part of you. Now, they may not be completed. You may never be completed.
Right.
That's why you're not together now. That's why you get together. You get together later. You know, how many people know each other
Right.
in childhood, teenage years, college years, and then end up together later? So I think the idea of love is very real. I think it's modern society, and I think it's modern thinking that is trying to smash the idea of true commitment and true love. Because we have made it so easy to get validation online. We've made it easy to get validation from getting on YouTube and watching, you know, and I say this, I try to say this every episode, do your due diligence and be very careful, you know, producing your mindset from videos online, even from the people that like I follow and I respect and I listen to. Watch all of their videos, watch their entire thought on something, not a 10-minute clip.
Right.
All right, because none of them only do 10-minute clips. They do very long, in-depth speeches about it. Because I think at a certain point, we are talking ourselves out of good relationships. We are talking ourselves out of things worth sacrificing for and depending on and stuff like that. Because we are searching for, and I said this in a video earlier this week, we are searching for the perfect conditions, the perfect mindset, the perfect moment. And we spend a lot of time waiting for the perfect, and all those moments and all those conditions and everything passes us by. And then at the end of the day, you're either alone or you settle and you're going to be
that's how
I feel.
100, bro. I think that you're absolutely correct. There is no such thing as the perfect time, you know, and the perfect person, the perfect situation, the perfect circumstance, you know. And to be honest with you, oh man, and by the way, I never knew you were such a romantic, my guy. I never knew.
Keep that shit.
And the rest of our listeners, you know what I'm saying? Who knew?
Everybody else is listening right now.
But no, but you know what though, bro? I gotta be honest with you, man. I agree that I think part of me has that same thought process from a perspective of like I do. I mean, to be honest with you, I do want that, you know, that person that just like I don't even so okay. All right, so here you go. All right, transparent, right? Transparent moment. All right, so from my far few people listening, you know, y'all get a little nugget.
Where's the record button at?
No, so you know, there was a young lady years ago. I remember there was a young lady that years ago I would say was the, as they say, one that got away. You say, you know what I mean? They always talk about that. We meet someone either for a reason or a lesson. Yeah, that's true. There was a young lady I had years ago, man, that to be honest with you, I don't know if I can say that I've ever truly been in love, as they say, right? By all the different standards and definitions of what love is considered. Because, I mean, obviously we've come to the conclusion that love is a choice, right? You said something good about commitment, right? Love is a commitment. You choose to love somebody. You can like a bunch of people, but you choose to love them, right? You know, you can have a whole bunch of chemistry, but you choose to love certain people. I think that's something that there's a whole other concept that requires a certain level of depth and maturity in our hearts and as people to make all the difference in the world. I think so when you're making that decision. But I will say, when it comes to the more romantic side, or when it comes to the more, I guess you could say, Hollywood side, the feeling side of it, there was a young lady a couple years ago, well, more than a couple, who, if I had to say I, you know, loved, you know what I'm saying, it was one of those situations where it was like, without me realizing it, I didn't even realize how much my life had changed just being around her. It was one of those, like, it was like before I knew it, and this is when I was still in the Marine Corps. I was on my way out the Marine Corps. I'm coming back from deployment. I'm all, you know, all that stuff. I'm still hoorah and you know, and all that. And what's crazy is I was like before I knew it, like I didn't even want to be around anybody else. You know, I didn't even, I had no interest in even like talking to anybody else. Like it was like, okay, this is cool. This is it. That's all I need right now. It was one of those like, and I had other women that I was talking to, I was dealing with, whatever the case is. Before I knew it, I didn't even want to talk to them. I didn't even want to, like, it was almost like I felt like I was wasting my time. you know what I'm saying, having conversation with you all, you know what I'm saying? And all I did was, it was so bad, man, because I was like talking about nose wide open. It was one of the situations where it was like, she hit me up one day, asked me to go to lunch. Now, mind you, I'm in the barracks. I ain't got no car, nothing. But she asked me if I wanted to go to lunch. I'm like, mind you, I'm on the couch in the drawers, just laid out, chilling. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? She hit
Yeah.
me up. Yeah,
And you
I mean, immediately, like I didn't jumped in the shower, jumped out the shower into my clothes. I run down to the edge of the barracks, hit my boy's door. Yo, I need the keys, bro. Need the keys, bro. Do. But it was crazy because although it was silly and sprung, like I wanted to do that. I wanted to go out of my way to find a way to be around this person. You know, I wanted to be around her. I wanted to just be in her presence. I enjoyed this. You know what I mean? Like, this was exciting to me. And I will say that when it comes to, um, you know, finding love or feeling love or whatever cases, I will say that I can be honest. I think part of me kind of wants that again. You know what I mean? To experience that, you know, that moment of looking at someone and being like, wow, like, wow. I don't have anything else to say. You know what I mean? Like there's, you know, I think there's an element of that I think I think it's honest. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be weird about it. It doesn't have to be, you know, corny and hopeless romantic type. But I do think that there's an element that exists. As we get to know a person, you fall in love with their soul. I mean, you fall in love with
let's call let's
the wow
let's just
element.
call it the wow
Right, the
element. There you
wow
go, buddy.
element.
The
I
wow
think that is
element.
a
Yep.
real element. Now, we have to be careful because we don't want to get so caught up in the rainbows and butterflies that you miss the red flags. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
because that,
100%.
because you
100%.
get caught up in the sunshine. Sunshine is beautiful at the horizon, but it's also blinding if you look square at it. You know what I mean? So, you know, you gotta really be
There you
careful
go.
with that. But just memories, just going through. But
That's why you're the fucking poet,
hey,
bro. That's why you're Reese the Poet. You know, you just
um,
say some shit
man,
sometimes. So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
they
I'm
good.
just
They
saying,
good.
like, I think that there is a real awe, wow moment that does exist. You know, whether it be on the initial, you know what I'm saying, like they say, love at first sight. I don't know about that, but I do think, yeah, I don't do the whole love at first sight thing because I do believe you can be attracted at first sight. You can be, you know, somebody can be beautiful and they just
Yeah.
be like, wow. You know, there's some certain people that you just like, wow, whoa. I gotta stop looking at you. You know what I mean? 'Cause you gonna mess me up. You know what I mean? But I think there is an element of when something clicks in your soul. That's what I think is the difference. I think that is the element that I think we're wanting and searching for. Is like when something clicks in your soul and in your spirit, and it says, "Yeah, there's a peace." So, like from obviously from a faith perspective, there's a peace that comes with this person, even in the storm, even in the
Yeah.
chaos, even in all that. You know, I think about like you know, the story of you know, Jesus and named the storm, and you know, they all tripping and Jesus is asleep. You know what I mean? My boy asleep on the boat, and the disciples are like, oh God, yeah. He's
I'm the son of
like,
God.
hey,
I'm
we
good.
good.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that they come to him and they're like, yo, Jesus, yo, we're dying and you're sleeping. What's going on? And he looked at them like, oh, little faith. Like, you really thought this boat was gonna crash with me in it? Come on, dog. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And he says, you know, and he look at them, he turns around, looks at the storm, and says, "Hey, peace be still." But I think, right, we're good,
We
we're
did.
done. Yeah, you know what I mean? And but what I think though is I think that in that aspect, as you're building and growing with a person, there's something that clears a peace that comes and settles the storms in your mind, because your mind will be going crazy. Like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm going. Your body's going crazy because you're like, oh, there's all kinds of chaos when you're falling in love. But I think that true love clicks when you finally reach that soft bottom and it just catches you. And there's this comfort. There's this
Yeah.
peace that comes. And so that's kind of how I would look at that. You know,
Well, I think once you reach that point with a person, you have grown to know somebody, and like one of I can say I'm about to be real fucking corny for a second here, but for me, like I have a lot of
right,
nightmares. I don't sleep very well. When I find so for me to sleep next to somebody and feel peaceful, you know, like for me, that's a huge sign, because it's not every girl you sleep next to. It's not every girlfriend you have that you sleep next to. You still have nightmares and stuff. But like you find that one person that like, you know, or you have a bad dream and you reach out and you touch them in the middle of the night,